If this journey into the forgotten past resonates with you, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. Imagine a world before our own. Not just a different time, but a different age. One that existed long before the pyramids were built, before Babylon rose, before Sumer etched the first marks into clay. A world that built and was buried. We are told that civilization began around 5,000 years ago. That before that, humans were primitive, scattered tribes, hunter-gatherers moving with the seasons. But what if that story is only a fragment? What if the true beginning of civilization didn't happen once, but many times? What if this is just the latest version of humanity's rise? All around the world, there are stories. Strange similarities between ancient myths told by cultures that never met. Floods, fires, fallen stars, golden ages that ended in sudden collapse. The Greeks spoke of Atlantis, a mighty civilization that vanished beneath the sea in a single night. The Hindus speak of cycles, yugas, vast periods where humanity rises, then falls into darkness. The Maya, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, all held deep memories of ages before their own. Could these be more than just legends? Could they be memories, echoes of something real? What if buried beneath the oceans, beneath the deserts, and beneath our own assumptions? There are the ruins of a forgotten past, not one of superstition and savagery, but of knowledge, order, and terrible loss. A world erased not by time, but by catastrophe, and then forgotten. Today we live in glass towers, speak to machines, fly through the skies. We believe we are the first to do so. But what if we are not? What if our civilization is just the most recent bloom in a much older garden? One that has burned and grown back again and again? This is not a conspiracy. This is not fantasy. This is a question, a possibility, and perhaps a warning. Because if we are not the first, we may not be the last. We think of time as a straight line, a path stretching from the caves to the stars, from fire to fiber optics, from stone tools to machines that speak. We believe we know where it all began. Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent, the first farmers, the first cities, the first laws, 5,000 years ago. That's where we place the beginning of history. But human beings have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. At least 300,000 that we can prove. Possibly much longer. So what were we doing for all that time? Wandering? Waiting? For tens of thousands of generations? That's the part of the story we don't talk about. Because we don't know. We assume nothing happened. That it took us hundreds of millennia to stack one brick on another. That civilization just appeared one day, suddenly, almost accidentally. But that assumption is built on silence. Because almost nothing survives from deep time. Wood decays. Textile is rot. Villages are buried by rising seas, shifting earth, and time itself. Only stone remains. And even stone can vanish, swallowed by jungle, sand, and ocean. So we build a story of human history based not on what we found, but on what's left. A tiny fraction of a vast, ancient world. The tip of a buried mountain. And we call that the beginning. But what if we're wrong? What if the reason we haven't found signs of ancient civilization isn't because they never existed, but because their ruins are in places we haven't looked? Beneath layers of silt and ice. At the bottom of seas that were once dry land. Under cities built on top of older cities. We forget how much the world has changed. During the last ice age, just 12,000 years ago, sea levels were over 400 feet lower. Vast stretches of land connected continents. If advanced societies existed along those ancient coasts, their remains would now lie beneath the ocean. Lost. And that's not speculation. It's geological fact. Landscapes change. Continents shift. Cultures are erased without a trace. Yet still, strange clues remain. In Turkey, there's a place called Göbekli Tepe, a megalithic site so old, it rewrote our understanding of prehistory. Massive stone pillars, arranged in circles, aligned with celestial bodies, carved with intricate symbols, dated to over 11,000 years ago. That's 6,000 years before the pyramids. before writing, before agriculture, according to what we thought we knew. And yet, someone built it. Someone buried it. Deliberately. Why? Who had the knowledge, the manpower, and the organization to create something so complex at a time when humans were supposed to be living in small nomadic bands? Göbekli Tepe is not alone. In Indonesia, the Gunung Padang site shows signs of construction beneath volcanic layers dated to 20,000 years ago. In India, sonar has revealed underwater structures off the coast of Dwarka, possible remnants of an ancient city swallowed by the sea. In the Amazon, satellite imagery has uncovered massive, geometric earthworks, cities once thought impossible in the rainforest. And in Egypt, some researchers believe the erosion on the Sphinx suggests it may be far older than the pyramids around it. We are taught to dismiss these anomalies, to call them outliers, coincidences, mistakes in dating, or overactive imaginations. But what if they aren't? What if they are fragments? Scattered pages from a book that once told the story of another civilization? A civilization that fell and was forgotten. We're a species that forgets, not just personally, but culturally. When the Library of Alexandria burned, we lost more than scrolls. We lost memory. When empires fall, their knowledge disappears. Langvagasti. Inventions are erased. Entire worlds vanish in the space between generations. We assume we're the first to reach this level of advancement. But maybe that's because we are the first to reach it again. And next time, if we fall, will anyone remember us? If history is a puzzle, then there are pieces that simply don't fit. Strange ruins, impossible structures, artifacts that seem to belong to another timeline entirely. And yet, they're real, documented, photographed, dismissed, because they challenge the story we've been told. Let's begin in Turkey, at a site older than history itself. Göbekli Tepe. We've already spoken its name, but it bears repeating. Massive stone circles, each pillar weighing up to 20 tons. Some carved with animals never native to the region, others aligned with stars. It predates the wheel. It predates pottery. It predates writing, metallurgy, and even agriculture. And yet, it exists, not the product of primitive wanderers, but of coordinated planning, engineering, mathematical awareness, cultural meaning. The site was not only built, it was buried, deliberately, as if someone wanted it hidden, or preserved. And that's just one anomaly. Thousands of miles away, beneath the waves off the coast of Japan, lies the Yonaguni Monument, a massive underwater formation. Terraces, steps, columns, platforms, all cut at right angles with signs of tool marks. Some claim it's natural. Others believe it's the remains of a sunken city, perhaps 10,000 years old. Whatever it is, it sits beneath the sea, cloaked in coral and mystery. In the Bahamas, similar structures emerge from the ocean floor. The Bimini Road, a line of massive rectangular stones, forming what looks like a road or seawall. The official story? Natural limestone formations. But the symmetry, the size, the arrangement, they feel human, like something left behind. Then, there's Puma Punku, high in the Bolivian Andes. At over 12,000 feet above sea level, you'll find stone blocks carved with such precision. Modern engineers struggle to explain them. Interlocking H-shaped stones, some weighing over 100 tons, moved miles from their original quarry. Not only were they carved, but assembled with such accuracy that even a razor blade cannot fit between the seams. The Incas didn't build this. Even they said it was already ancient when they arrived. And no one knows who did. How do we explain this level of engineering? Using tools that, according to textbooks, hadn't been invented yet? Even the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the best-known monuments on Earth, raises unsettling questions. It's aligned to true north with near-perfect precision. Its dimensions encode mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. Its base is level to within a fraction of an inch. And yet, we're told it was built with copper tools and manual labor. Maybe it was. Or maybe that's just what survived the rewriting of history. The anomalies don't stop with architecture. In 1991, in the Ötztal Alps between Austria and Italy, a frozen body was discovered, preserved in ice for over 5,000 years. Otzi the Iceman. But what made researchers pause was what he was carrying. Tools of refined copper, a complex medicinal kit, and tattoos placed on acupuncture points. Not random, not primitive, intentional. In 2018, in India's Bhimbetka rock shelters, researchers discovered something even stranger. What appears to be a 10,000-year-old depiction of humanoid figures with helmets. Ancient cave art, stylized figures, some floating, some with what look like antennas. The local tribes call them Rohila, beings that came from the sky, long ago. Coincidence? Imagination? Or memory? Again and again, we find these puzzles. Out of place, out of time. In South Africa, 200,000 circular stone structures scattered across the veldt. Their purpose unknown. Their origin forgotten. In Siberia, the Shigar idol, a 12-foot-tall wooden statue, carved with symbols no one has deciphered. It's over 11,000 years old, twice as old as the pyramids. Even ancient maps raise questions. The Piri Reis map, drawn in 1513, shows parts of South America and Antarctica. Centuries before Antarctica was officially discovered, and it shows the continent without ice, matching the geological shape beneath the ice sheet. Some claim it was copied from older sources, maps that no longer exist. But where did those maps come from? Who charted a frozen land thousands of years ago? Each of these examples, taken alone, could be dismissed. Coincidence, misinterpretation, natural formation. But taken together, a pattern emerges, a trail of breadcrumbs, something advanced, maybe not globally, but in isolated pockets, may have existed. Something that left marks on stone, on memory, and on myth. Something that didn't survive. Or perhaps something that wasn't meant to survive. Because history, as we know it, is not neutral. It's written by the survivors, and sometimes by the conquerors. When a culture dies, its story often dies with it. And all we're left with are the ruins, silent, waiting, half submerged in sand, jungle, and doubt. For most of history, stories were not written. They were spoken, sung, whispered beside fires, carried in the rhythms of language and blood. We call them myths. But what if some of them are not stories at all? What if they are memories? Distorted by time, yes, reshaped by culture and belief, but rooted in something real. Consider this. Nearly every ancient civilization, across continents, across oceans, tells the same story. A story of a great flood, a world swallowed by water, a golden age washed away in a single moment. In Mesopotamia, it was Utnapishtim, the man who built a boat and survived the god's wrath. In Genesis, it was Noah. In India, the god Vishnu warned Manu of a deluge that would drown the earth. In Mesoamerica, the gods destroyed the fourth world in a rain of water, and the survivors became fish. In Australia, Aboriginal legends speak of a time when the sea swallowed the land, reshaping the coasts. These cultures didn't know each other. They didn't trade. They didn't share language, religion, or geography. And yet, they remembered the same thing. The details differ, but the shape of the story is the same. An advanced people, a lost world, a sudden end. For centuries, scholars called these tales metaphor, spiritual allegory, symbols of moral cleansing or natural chaos. But what if they're not? What if they're descriptions of something that actually happened? 12,800 years ago, the Earth entered a period of dramatic climate change, known as the Younger Dryas. Temperatures plummeted, glaciers surged, sea level shifted. Some scientists now believe this sudden chaos was caused by a cosmic impact, perhaps from a comet that struck the Earth. Maybe this isn't the beginning. Maybe it never was. What if history isn't a straight line, but a spiral? What if civilizations rise and fall and rise again, each time forgetting the last? The ancients believed in cycles. The Greeks spoke of ages, gold, silver, bronze, and iron, each one descending from the purity of the last. The Hindus speak of the yugas, 4 great epochs, moving from spiritual enlightenment to total darkness before starting again. The Maya had the backtons, cycles of time that end, not in destruction, but in renewal. Again and again, we see the same idea. That time is not progress. It turns. And if that's true, then maybe we are not the first to stand where we stand now. Maybe there was another version of us. A long time ago, maybe they discovered the stars, mapped the earth, built cities with knowledge we no longer understand. And maybe they reached too far, or were struck down by forces beyond their control. Flood, fire, ice, silence. And when they fell, the earth healed over their ruins. The jungle grew back. The oceans swallowed the coasts. The sky forgot their names. And the survivors, they told stories. Stories that became legend. Legends that became myth. Myths that became nothing at all. Until now, because now, we are standing at the edge of something again. We are reaching farther and faster than ever before. We've built machines that speak, satellites that orbit, weapons that could end it all in a single day. We walk among the stars, but forget the ground we're standing on. And maybe that's the final warning hidden in all those ancient stories. Not just that something was lost, but that something can be lost again, that the fall is part of the cycle. But it doesn't have to be, because if we are the second human era, if we are standing where others once stood, then maybe we have something they didn't. A chance to remember, to listen to the whispers, to read the signs, to take what was left behind and carry it forward, consciously this time. Because memory is fragile, and history is not inevitable. It must be protected, preserved, passed on, or will be erased, like all the others.